bridge at dawn. Every morning, Emma crossed the old stone bridge that stretched over the river, its waters reflecting the first colors of dawn. She always walked quickly, clutching her books to her chest, too focused on her daily routine to notice much else. One morning, as mist curled above the water, she saw someone standing at the center of the bridge. A young man with paint-stained hands and an easel beside him. He was sketching the sunrise, his eyes filled with quiet wonder. Their eyes met briefly, and Emma felt a spark she couldn't explain. She hurried past, but the image of him lingered all day. The next morning, he was there again. This time, when she slowed, he smiled. "Would you like to see?" he asked, turning his sketch toward her. Emma stepped closer. The canvas glowed with warm hues of gold and rose, the river shimmering as though alive. But what caught her breath was a detail she hadn't expected, her silhouette crossing the bridge, small but carefully drawn. "You painted me?" she whispered. "You were part of the morning," he said simply. From that day forward, Emma found herself walking slower each morning. Sometimes they spoke, sometimes they stood in silence, watching the river waken with the light. She learned his name was Daniel, that he dreamed of holding his first exhibition, and that he painted because he feared beauty vanished too quickly. Weeks passed, and their conversations grew longer. On one particularly quiet morning, Daniel looked at her and said, "You're the reason I come here now. The sunrise feels incomplete without you." Emma's heart trembled. She had always walked the bridge alone, but suddenly, she couldn't imagine it without him either. That winter, when the river froze and the air was sharp with frost, Daniel held her hand for the first time. "Stay until the sun rises?" he asked. She nodded, and together they stood as the sky bloomed with color. Years later, people would still see them on that bridge. Sometimes in silence, sometimes laughing, always side by side. For Emma and Daniel, the bridge was no longer just a path across the river. It was the place where dawn had given them to each other.
The bridge at dawn. The first time Emma saw Daniel, it was on the old wooden bridge that crossed the river near Wilmington. She had gone there at dawn, escaping the noise of her thoughts while the world was still quiet. The river reflected the pink of the morning sun, and the mist curled above the water like something secret. She hadn't expected anyone else to be there, but he stood at the railing, sketchbook in hand, lost in his dreams. Emma hesitated. She wasn't someone who liked to disturb others, but something about the stillness of him, the way he seemed completely at home in solitude, drew her closer. "Beautiful morning," she finally said. He looked up, startled, and smiled. His smile wasn't bright, but it had warmth in it, like sunlight after rain. "Yeah, the kind of morning worth remembering," he replied. From that day on, Emma and Daniel found themselves meeting often on that bridge. At first by coincidence, then by choice. She brought her camera, he brought his sketchbook. They talked about small things at first, the changing colors of the leaves, the books they were reading, the silly details of daily life. But as weeks passed, their conversations deepened. She learned he was an architect who loved designing spaces that felt at home. He learned she was a teacher who secretly wrote poems but never showed them to anyone. Autumn turned to winter, and their meetings grew more precious. They watched snowflakes fall on the river, each one vanishing as quickly as it touched the water. Daniel once told her, "Some moments are like snow fleeting, Emma. But this one us is forever.